I want to tell you a little bit about my vision for the state and where I think we need to go and why I think it is that at this time in history, at this place, at this moment, we together have a common mission that we need to accomplish. But I want to take a little piece of business and get it out of the way first. A press person asked me if I've announced that I'm running for governor. And I just want to clarify that I'm the only of the five candidates that's speaking today that haven't announced, and that will be happening on November 16th. You're all invited. So my comments are based upon the presumption that I will run, and that will determine on November 16th. Let's get started. I believe that as we look at Vermont, and where we are right now at this time in our history, I am a candidate, and the candidate, who can provide the leadership that Vermont so desperately needs at this time, and provide the experience to get the job done. What's the mission? We're facing unprecedented unemployment, tough economic times. Any gubernatorial candidate has to understand that right now, if you're going to be taking on the governorship of this great state, your first job, we all know, is going to be to balance the budget, to find ways to do more with less, to address the fiscal challenges that we face as a family. I've been running a business, meeting a payroll since I was 23 years old. I can get that done. Can I use some of my 5 minutes? That's not what the idea is here. Yeah, I'm just going to say a few opening comments. So let's get started. When I came back as president of the Senate 4 years ago, I was driving down the highway, and Peter Frame called me after being elected as president of the Senate by my colleagues. And he said, what's the most important priority that you're going to undertake as president of the Senate? He expected me to say property taxes, health care, education, you name it, they're all important. And I said climate change. He said, what do you mean climate change? I said, listen, Peter, we are the first generation of Americans to live in an age where what we do about the problems that we create will determine whether or not this planet is livable. Second, if we do not act immediately to change our addiction to fossil fuel, to get off it and move on to other sources of energy, our future, our state, and our planet will be unlivable for future generations. That's sort of big stuff, Peter. So what we did was we said, listen, let's take the first week of the legislature and educate legislators about climate change, the challenge and the opportunity. And Todd just said that, the opportunity. I want to talk to you about the opportunity because you in this room understand with me the challenge. Here's the opportunity. If you go out and talk to Vermonters right now, there's one thing on their minds. After 8 years of Jim Douglas and Brian Doobie running the state, they can't find a job. They don't know if they can keep their current job. They're worried about paying their bills, paying for the heating oil, putting food on the table, and their children's economic future. And they've got good reasons to worry. It's a mess. What they don't yet get, and what we as a family have an opportunity to explain, is that the economic revolution that's about to happen as we get off our addiction to fossil fuel and move to renewable energy will create the jobs of the future. The only question for us as Vermonters is, are we going to be smart enough, and are we going to have a leader, a governor, who has the brains to make sure that we get a piece of the action? That's the challenge. How are we going to do it? Listen, when I give this speech, and as you know, we went into the legislature, we passed the toughest climate change bill in the country. Al Gore flew in here and said, Governor, please don't veto that bill. It's the best bill to pass any legislature in the country. It was my bill. Well, we know what happened from there. But that's history. The question is, where are we going? This is where we need to go. When we talk about the revolution that's about to happen in our economy, it's not just about energy jobs. It's about our farms, it's about our forests, it's about our communities, it's about our downtowns. So we'll get back to that later, but I want to continue to share that vision. Ginny says that my 5 minutes is up. Thank you. Listen, when I talk about moving renewable energy, I'm not talking about burning trash. That is not the answer to our energy needs. I'm talking about solar, I'm talking about biomass, I'm talking about wind, a government that supports wind for a change. I'm talking about community-based power. Listen, we've just lived through 8 years where the energy policy has been this simple. Let's always do what we've always done. Because what we've always done is what we must always do. That's their energy policy. Now they might add burning trash to that. That isn't how we deal with our recyclables. Our energy future is based upon small, municipal, community energy projects. It's based upon defining where we can build wind as a community, respecting our natural resources, respecting the integrity and the values of our communities, and finding 4 or 5 states where we can do it. It's about investing in renewables outside of the state as a state. Guess what? I have advocated buying the hydro dams, not once, but twice. I did it to Howard Dean, who said no, and I did it to Jim Douglas, who said no. If I'm governor of Vermont, next time around, we'll get those dams. Together, we can make our energy future the economic engine of the future of the state. It isn't going to be from burning plastics. Well, thank you, Todd, and I want to commend the people in this room who helped us pass that bill. As you know, I'm president of the Senate. I'm one of the people who made it happen. There are others here who made it happen, including Senator Dick McCormick, who's sitting here, Senator Bartlett, and others, but I want to thank you for your help. Now listen, it should be no surprise to us that we have 4 times the demand for the standard offer bill than what the bill said. It should also be no surprise to you that the powerful interests that don't want renewable energy and have been fighting it successfully for years decided strategically to let the bill pass in the House and kill it in the Senate. And guess who didn't let that happen? Yours truly. And we won't. And if we're in charge, if we get the reins of state government back in the hands of folks who believe in renewables, that little bill that we passed will look like a teeny little beginning to a bright future for Vermont. So let's go there together. How do we promote renewables? Standard offer is a great bill, but we got to be more creative than that. Venture capital for businesses starting out. I just talked to a gentleman here who was a small solar company up in Morrisville. They need venture capital. Many of our community, many of our small businesses need venture capital. We passed a bill this year in the legislature to get some of the folks that are starting renewable companies that venture capital. It's not enough. We have more to do. Second, let's define where we're going to put renewables and get them up. And third, and perhaps most important, let's make sure that our kids have the training to come back here and get a piece of this economic revolution so they don't have to worry about where they're going to get a job, where they're going to live, where they're going to prosper when they want to move back to Vermont. Not only is it critical, but we've just begun. Now I want to thank, first of all, Senator Susan Bartlett, who's here. I made her chair of the Appropriations Committee years ago. One of the reasons I did is that she has stood and fought against the onslaught against Vermont, the PHCB for years, and she's done it mightily. Second, I have also joined that fight, and we will continue to. Why? 2 weeks ago, I did a tour with a bunch of the folks from PCHB up in Madison County. If you go into towns like Shumlin and Orwell, where some of the richest ag land in Vermont is currently sitting, we have now conserved up to 30% of entire communities. That's an extraordinary success rate. That should be the standard for the rest of the country. Let's make that the beginning of what we expect to do in every community. Why? Because we know that when climate change comes in its full form, and it's coming much faster than the scientists predicted, that the food belt in this country is going to change, that farmers will have a bright future here. Why? First of all, we're going to grow local and buy local. And it's not just going to be a petite thing. All Vermonters will be able to do that because we're not going to be able to tolerate buying a tomato in Chile and a gallon of milk in Wisconsin or California. Those days will be gone. Second, as we get our farmers producing locally, we will become a part of the market for New York, for Boston, for Montreal, within a 200-mile radius that will make this an ag state. If we build big boxes on that land, we will lose that opportunity. The state that preserves it, makes it, let's be sure that's the state of Vermont.